Welcome. I hope you are doing well and enjoying your summer. Right now, we are smack dab in the middle of the summer of 2020, and we are still trying to navigate life with the coronavirus. Social norms are a mixed bag. Some people feel comfortable with hugging, some high fives with elbows, some are just staying home. Some believe in wearing a mask, and others don't. Some are anxious to get back to work and school, and others aren't. Many of us find ourselves trying to make sense of the crowds that we see at Walmart or Home Depot or even at protests. And then we witness the shutdown to so many small businesses and schools. Do we go to the family reunion or do we stay home? Do we go on vacation or not? Should we put the kids in school or do we homeschool? So much confusion, so many mixed messages and feelings. What was politically correct yesterday isn't today, and watch out, because what's politically correct today won't be tomorrow. What used to be right is now considered wrong, and what used to be wrong is accepted as right. And to make it even more confusing, many of these new rules depends upon the city or the state you're in. So needless to say, this is a time of mixed values and confusion. And then on top of all that, we have seen so much disrespect and hatred with riots and unnecessary death and destruction. Regardless how we feel about the issues at hand, the cruelty has been horrible. The moral decay that we have in our society is rampant. This really has been an interesting time. And as I mentioned in the last podcast, our cheese has been moved. What we thought were constants are not anymore. We thought we'd be able to go to school or church, sporting events, or even to our favorite restaurant. We thought that our freedoms and liberties would stand the test of time. We thought that we knew our history, and now there are those that are rewriting it. We thought that these and so many other things that I don't have time to mention would be constants in our lives. And now they seem to be on shaky ground. Our cheese is getting moved even as we speak. Despite all of the relativity that we are witnessing, there must be some constants in our lives and the lives of our children. There has to be stability and solid ground in spite of all the moving parts around us. We, and I mean we as individuals, families, and a society, will crumble physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually unless we have some constants, solid ground on which to stand and live and breathe. So I would like to mention a few constants that if we hold on to, that if we make a part of our everyday lives, will make all the difference in this ever-changing world. For our sake and for the sake of our children and grandchildren, these constants are crucial, or we will not be able to survive all this chaos. The first thing that I would like to share is that we are being raised in a world of victimhood. Sadly, it has become a badge of honor to place ourselves or align ourselves with a people or a group who have been victimized. That might be because of skin color, gender, size, profession, religious beliefs, privileges, marital status, gender preferences, political preferences. We can find a group of victims for anything we want. You name it, it's out there. And the more groups we belong to, supposedly, the more relevant we are. The louder our voice and the more entitled we become. It can be very attractive and extremely tempting to join one of these groups. After all, it has become a norm. Everyone's doing it. So therefore, it seems harmless, trendy, and in fact, it seems good. The world has made it appear that that is how we make a difference in the world. That's how we inspire change. Well, I am here to say, no, don't do it. You may be a victim. We are all a victim for one reason or another. But what they don't tell us is that joining the mentality of victimhood, Playing the role of a victim, aligning ourselves with victim groups, will rob us of our personal happiness and stop our progress, adding to any instability or insecurity that we may already feel. Our lives will get worse in the long run, not better. I can promise you that. That is the truth. Whether it be an individual or a society, watch as people play the role of a victim. They are never truly happy and they never progress. Personal responsibility is the only way to go, and it's the only way to grow. In fact, I think I'm going to coin that phrase. Personal responsibility is the only way to go, and it's the only way to grow. The only way to be happy and to move forward in our life in spite of the fact that we will be victims at times. No one is responsible for our happiness other than us. Those with victim mentalities just go from one group to another because it doesn't satisfy them. It's never enough. They think that in the moment it's a badge of honor, but it's the exact opposite. It's a boat that doesn't take you to shore. For a minute you feel relevant, validated, emboldened, and like you belong, like you are making a difference, and even your feedback and comments on social media may lead you to believe that you are. But again, it doesn't last. It's a false sense of security. It's a false narrative. It does far more damage in the long run than good to our lives. Follow the people who are rioting. Oh, they are having their 15 minutes of fame, but follow their lives in the coming years. Look at those who blame their spouse for their unhappy marriage, or blame their boss as to why they lost their job, or blame God for their sadness, or make excuses as to why they quit or rebelled, or blame their parents, teachers, or coaches for their problems and unhappiness. And especially watch the lives of those who are complaining or wallowing in self-pity. Follow them. Watch where that gets them. I have spent the last 20 years watching those with a victim mentality. Sadly, their happiness seems to always be fleeting, never enduring, and overall, they have not progressed emotionally or spiritually. Their stories change, the characters in their life change, but not surprisingly, they remain the victim in each of their stories. If we can choose now to live responsibly, be responsible for our choices, our happiness, our reaction, our grades, our friends, our jobs, our relationships, we will progress and be happy. And that is a constant that we can count on. That is a constant that gives us security and stability. We will be victims of all kinds of unfortunate circumstances in our lives, but being a victim is not what makes us unhappy. It's playing the role of a victim. If we can follow this truth and teach this to our families, they will enjoy the fruits of personal responsibility, which are so much greater and lasting than the fruits of playing the role of a victim. And that constant will bless their lives in the midst of all this chaos. I can promise you that. Now, as we accept personal responsibility, our character naturally grows, which is the second constant that we can control, that will add stability amongst all this turmoil in the world. It seems that people have redefined character right along with everything else. Like I said, it's a badge of honor now to align ourselves with a group or to protest or to post on social media a trendy stance. Well, people without character can do those things all day long. Anyone can do that. So that is not what it means to have character. Character is doing hard things, standing up for morality, decency, and respect, regardless what the world says and does. It means being honest and kind, forgiving and loving others regardless of our differences. Honoring our parents, even if it's hard or if they believe differently than we do. Taking personal responsibility, that takes a lot of character in this world. being a lifter and a builder of others when we ourselves may be struggling, taking time for others when we'd rather do something for ourselves, serving, having integrity, being gracious, being trustworthy and dependable. These are a few of the qualities that people with great character have. We and others need to be able to count on our character. That is a constant that adds stability to a relationship, a family, and a society. As I've mentioned before, I life coach with a focus on teens. It is a world of difference when these teens have parents with strong character. They may not always agree with their parents and they may not even notice it. But I see a confidence and security and stability about them when their parents exhibit the qualities I just mentioned. I can't tell you the times that I've mentioned to Daryl what a difference it makes in the lives of these young people who have parents who walk the walk, who live with integrity and honor and kindness and graciousness in their lives. These young people will brave the world a lot easier than those whose parents are caught up with the ever-moving trends and constantly changing beliefs and philosophies. Kids sense it when their parents are easily influenced in the world, and it adds instability to their own lives. Parents with character give to their kids a stability, something that is constant, something that is priceless. I am not sure if I mentioned this before, but when we retired the swim school, we decided to give a scholarship to the 5 high schools in our town of Clovis, California for the next 5 years. Everyone thought that we would give a swim scholarship since we were a swim school for 59 years. But more than swimming, we valued character. We hired for character and we ran our businesses with character as our trademark. So we made it a character scholarship. We wanted to reward seniors who truly lived lives of great character, who didn't quit when they felt like it, who didn't rebel when things didn't go their way, who didn't make excuses for behaving a certain way. We just wanted to reward integrity and a good, solid character. Well, we just finished our 3rd year of handing out scholarships. And it has been so rewarding for us to meet these graduates of great character. I remember one in particular who had moved to a new high school her freshman year. Her mom left her alcoholic father and moved her to this new school. She said some of the first people that she met were the popular kids who quickly welcomed her into their circle. She said, I had a choice. I could either hang out with the popular kids who did not hold my standards, or I could sit by myself at lunch. I chose to sit by myself. We were amazed at her depth of character. Her mom was obviously doing a great job. Of course, now as a senior, she'd found friends of her same caliber and same character and was on her way. Because of her amazing character, she won the scholarship that year for her school. Just this year, we met a girl who started a movement her freshman year when she noticed that many of the students at school had turned to walkouts to protest school violence. She felt it was more productive to create a positivity movement on campus versus walking out. Anyone could walk out. She knew that wasn't a sign of character. So she went to the principal and she asked to speak on the loudspeaker during daily announcements to share positive messages. She organized a task force that put positive notes all over the kids' lockers and so much more. She showed us what good character acts like. She was so impressive. She obviously won the character scholarship for her school. One of my favorite seniors was a boy who was raised from the day he was born with an older sibling who had a rare and usually fatal cancer. This boy was literally raised in the hospital since his brother was always receiving tests and treatments. And so the kids he met and played with were all fighting cancer like his brother was. Of course, he didn't understand that as a little child, but eventually all of his childhood friends died of cancer. This guy's brother was a rare survivor and has had a lifetime of relapses and treatment. He has always lived in the shadow of an older brother who was moved from hospital to hospital and from treatment to treatment. It would have been so easy for him to resent his very unusual upbringing, no long-term friendships, limited time with mom and dad as they took turns staying at the hospital, family debt from hospital bills. He could have easily rebelled against the feelings that his life was never as important as his brother's, since so much attention was always on his brother. But instead, he chose to live his life productively and chose to be a lifter and a builder to his brother and to his parents and even the community. He grew great character and we were so impressed. And obviously he won the scholarship for his school. And I could share many more stories with you. Character is a rare find and will trump a victim mentality all day, every day. Character should be a constant that we cannot live without. It is a constant that will bring great stability and security to our lives and to ourselves and those that we associate with as we face life's difficulties. Character is formed by doing hard things, and then character is what will get us through the difficulty ahead of us. I am reminded by something that Daryl always says. He says, we choose our hard. It's all hard. For example, if we gain 100 pounds, that's hard. Our back starts to hurt. We might develop diabetes. Things start to break down. But also keeping the weight off is hard too. It's hard to exercise and say no and to eat healthy. It's all hard. We just get to choose our hard. Going to work and working when it's uncomfortable or stressful is hard. And sometimes it demands a lot from us. But not working and being lazy and not making money brings its own challenges. Sometimes depression, dependency, low feelings of self-worth, fewer opportunities. That is hard too. So we choose our hard. Well, building character is hard. It takes discipline and motivation and perseverance, perspective and determination. But not building character by giving into the trends, being lazy, not keeping promises, not being trusted or dependable, creates a really hard life. It's amazing how lives without character have so many more challenges. Marriages struggle more, job opportunities are fewer, low self-confidence, insecurities are endless, relationships are in jeopardy. There is a whole lot of hard when we lack character. Bottom line, we choose our hard. Character is a good hard to choose and will bless our lives forever. And we need that constancy in our lives. One more constant that I want to share with you that will make all the difference in this ever-changing world and has without a doubt made all the difference in my life. Every day we encounter relative truths and absolute truths. Relative truths are those truths that change. They're relative. They change with opinions, research, circumstances, time, perspective, and so much more. Two people can be in the same place at the same time, and as they both describe their experience, which appears to contradict each other, they both can be telling the truth because it's a relative truth. It's their perspective. Most everything we hear and read is a relative truth. It will change. Relative truths come and go. Almost everything you watch on the news is a relative truth. More science will come out, more information, more research, more details, more opinions. It's a truth that keeps changing. Now, an absolute truth won't change with opinions or research or time or science. It's absolute. For example, we have a God who is the Father of our spirits. He is our Heavenly Father. Just because someone doesn't believe this or denies it doesn't change it, because it is an absolute truth. We are His children, and He loves us unconditionally. Again, if we don't believe it, or if we don't feel His love, or if we've convinced ourselves that we're not deserving of His love, it doesn't change the truth that He loves us, because it's an absolute truth. Christ atoned for our sins and weaknesses and mistakes. That is an absolute truth. Living the commandments of God will bring peace and happiness. That is an absolute truth. The circumstances of our lives, which means how much money we have, our vacations, our marital status, our job, our privileges, our opportunities, has little to do with our happiness. But the focus of our lives, focusing on Jesus Christ, focusing on what we have versus what we don't have, has everything to do with our happiness. That is an absolute truth. There are many absolute truths, and they will not change with time or opinion or the changing world we live in. They are absolute truths. We can vote on them. We can fight or argue against them. We can even pass laws stating that they're not true. And none of that changes it, because they're an absolute truth. Absolute truths are constant. Therefore, they add security and stability to our ever-changing world, because they are something we can count on. Therefore, they bring calm and peace, because they won't be changing. They give us the assurance that we so desperately need and want. We get in trouble when we take a relative truth and treat it as if it's absolute. And we post it, we protest for or against it, and even raise our kids believing in it, only to have it change with time. That creates a lot of insecurity and doubt when we find out that it was a relative truth. This is very common in the healthcare world and the world of psychology and politics. Sometimes people base their whole belief system on something that they learned, not realizing that it was relative and it didn't apply to every patient or every child or every law. It is also just as dangerous to treat absolute truths as if they are relative. When we dismiss God or the need for prayer in our lives, or dismiss His commandments as if they are relative, as if they are good for some people and not for others, we have removed some of the greatest constants in our lives. The reason that I mention this is because the world is protesting, rioting, arguing, fighting, and killing over relative truths. They take a little information and treat it as if it's absolute, when in reality it is someone's opinion, or marked with a limited perspective, or because it's trendy, or it makes them feel like a hero today, only to find out that things will change and they may not be a hero tomorrow, or more details emerge and their relative truth weren't what they thought or didn't bring the results they intended. And eventually they realize that it was a boat that didn't take them to shore. However, it is absolute truths that will take us all the way. Absolute truths that we can always depend on, that will bring security and meaning to our lives. They are constants. And 50 years from now, they are still true. Can you understand how comforting that is? How that brings stability to a chaotic world? Oh, if we would cling to the absolute truths in our lives and not spend so much time focusing on the relative truths, we would be so much better off. I want to invite you to do that. I know for myself, I value absolute truths more than anything in the world. Daryl will tell you this firsthand. I need to know what I can count on. In fact, I was so worried when I was younger that if I got married, that my husband would change on me and that his values and beliefs might go off into left field. I would rather have stayed single than have to deal with that. That's how important it was for me to have constance in my life. The advantage of getting married at an older age is that I could know by the choices that Daryl made the past 30 years what he believed and valued. I was reassured by his constancy. It gave me the security I needed to marry him. I don't have to worry from day to day where he stands or what he values and believes. What a blessing this is to me. Well, that's the way it is for each of us. We are more secure when we have constance in our lives. These constants that I have mentioned are lifesavers in this ever-changing, chaotic world. I want to invite you to make them constants in your life as well. And if you do, your kids and your grandkids will draw great strength from you for the rest of their lives, whether they realize it right now or not. My parents provided that constancy for me. They never wavered. Their character was true regardless the challenges they faced. They showed me how to take full responsibility for my life and for my happiness. And I have enjoyed the constant joy that has come from that. And they introduced me to absolute truths at a young age for which I will be eternally grateful. These absolute truths that were true as a child are still true today. And perhaps that is why I am at such peace in the world right now. I have truths I can count on, and I know they will never change. I can promise you that having these three constants in our lives will give us the peace and security that we all so desperately want. Well, thanks so much for listening. I hope all is well with you. I would love to hear from you. My email is bthomas2, the number 2, @prodigy.net. Have a great day.